wherever it is you are reaching us from around the world. This is Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwebike. We'll be starting off today with our newspapers, and right after that will be our main conversation also for today. But please, we would and join you to be part of what we do. You can always find and reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We're so very happy to have joining us today via Zoom, Innocent Aduluba, journalist, public affairs analyst, and right here with us is Barrister Evans Ofeli, Barrister Law Public Affairs Analyst. Good morning to you, gentlemen, and welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you so very much for the time.
My pleasure.
All right, so let's kick off. Yeah, thank you so very much, Innocent. So let's kickstart today with our newspapers, and we're starting up with the Vanguard. But just before we get into the Vanguard, we have a breaking story here. Of course, the mishap that just occurred at the CARA Bridge, Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, and fatalities, of course, were recorded there. We still do not know how many there, but of course, the gridlock is beyond what people would, of course, take care of. But let's talk about that particular issue. Let me start with you, Barrister Evans Ofeli. The CARA Bridge, unfortunately, has become a death trap.
Yes.
And one would wonder, what is it really about that bridge? Of course, we are not engineers to really, give the calculations and all of that to understand what the problem is. But what do you really think is the problem? Obviously, we can't blame it on evil spirit.
Yes.
So there should be a reason why this is a regular occurrence.
I think the problem is multifaceted. One is the road. The road, even though the road has been repaired, I still think there are so many factors that surround that road. It's becoming more busier than it used to be. Before, it used to be at the outskirts of Lagos completely.
Okay.
But now, encroachment, movement, migration, population has gone into it. Now it's so busy that people cross recklessly. There is no footbridge there. There's no pedestrian bridge. So you have a lot of people who cross the bridge, and you have so many heavy-duty vehicles plying that road. Okay. So one would have thought that by now we should have, for daytime, we should have railway beside the bridge. Okay, or, we're told that there's a railway that should run from there through Mowe, through Ilorin.
That goes to Ibadan.
Yes, Ibadan, Ilorin, down to, Abuja. There's a rail mark for that. So I think all those articulated vehicles should move into the rail when the rail is finally done. And the federal government should do that as quickly as possible. Because it has always been with small cars and trailer. Small cars and trailer always having collision. That's one of the things I think is the solution. In as much as we cannot actually unearth all the causes of this. But I feel the population, the movement of people have become too much there and all that. So that should be taken care of. Then those who know the engineering possibility of what could be done to ensure safety should do that. And these vehicles are always overloaded. Many of them are overloaded. We have the road safety around that area. They are always there. But we don't know what they are doing about the excessive loads that those. And to coincide with that bridge is also a hill. That place is a hill too. And it's not just there, the Ataga Bridge too. Yes. It's another, because there's a valley in between Bega and the Ataga Bridge.
Okay.
And you start to climb another hill again, at that spot. So from CARA Bridge to Ataga, to between that place and the front port of Magodo, something must be done about it, because those two spots have been giving problem. Not just for over 10 years, that spot have been a huge problem. So for me, I think that alternative of a railway and maybe an expansion of the road may actually bring the problem to a halt.
Yes.
And there's a need to have a pedestrian bridge there immediately after the CARA Bridge.
Okay.
because you can see now that there are two communities by both sides, Sparklight Estate and the Sherry Estate at the other side, inward channels and all that.
Yeah.
So there's a huge community there now that was never in existence before. Okay, so that community, between that place and the Long Bridge, is a huge community now. It used to be bush before. So whoever have constructed the road may not have factored in that possibility of a community or two communities in both sides of the road. And you have a huge, there's a market, CARA of course is a market, animal husbandry market, which coincide with also other markets around the area and all that. So there's so many problems there that must be looked into.
Very, very true. It was a gory side. I was there this morning. I took, of course, some videos on what happened there, which I would love to believe our editor will let us, see some of them. And it was really not an exciting situation. Really not an exciting one. People who, of course, were traveling for the Easter holidays were all there, hoping that the road would clear, and it is not. Innocent, I'd love you to speak to the economic implication of some of these things. And Nigeria is not a data-driven, conscious society where every little difference, a 0.1% difference, doesn't matter to us. But of course, the ripple effect, cascades on the lives of the economy, the lives of Nigerians. I'd love you to speak to this particular issue on the economic effect of some of these things, especially to Nigerians.
Thank you, Henry. Good morning. Thanks for having me on this Good Friday. Incidentally, that this season is the reason for the traffic. Like you have said, Nigeria, our premium value for data is not universally applicable. And it tells us that it is not a coincidence. It is an ordinary plan to expect that at seasons like this, when people are on break from work, traveling will be on the rise, and traveling globally is facilitated by transportation. In this case, if you look at that place, Nigeria is deficient of multimodal transportation. We are specialists in intermodal transportation, which focuses on standardized containers that transfer between different modes. But the multimodal is when and that's the index of most development. If you look at Europe, I think Barrister Ophelia there will throw more light on that. But multimodal transportation involves using two or more modes to transport or move cargo, move freight, under a single contract from origin to destination. The origin is from Lagos. Destination could be Ibadan, Akure, Abuja, and that far. But that neck from the third mainland bridge, Bagada, Ketu, Alausa, and down to Magodo is the neck that, if care is not taken, if we want to go by objective statistics, is the busiest route in West Africa, if you want to go by Nigeria's population. And so the government should always not be caught unawares or playing catch-up. We usually seem overwhelmed. Then we deploy large numbers of traffic people to swing their hands and point at where vehicles will turn. But the option for space as regards multimodal transportation, notice that, as the barrister has explained, that is a slope. It will be good to have a rail crossing in that parameter, that environment, because that road leads from that place due north from Lagos into Ogun State. After Ikeja Bega, you are heading towards the Shagamu axis, and then the interchange reduces the load. Secondly, multimodal transportation is very key. It helps. One of the advantages, there are many advantages. It reduces costs, it increases flexibility, there are enhancement of safety and better environmental performance. But the biggest, as we speak, is that it reduces congestion. In this case, what you experience today, Henry, is that congestion rather increased. And that is the economic summary, if you want me to say, is that the value placed on time as it affects business is gone. It's gone. And as we all know, time, Henry, is money.
Very, very true. It's totally non-existent in Nigeria, and one would wonder if really we do value that, because that is the basis on which any economy grows. But let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper now. The big story: how bandits, killer herdsmen, have impacted farming food supply by Stefan Sofeli. This morning I was going through some of the newspapers. We just learned that there's a new a terrorist group now in the northern part of Nigeria called Makuda. Now we're not dealing with Lakurawa, Boko Haram is still there. Now we have Makuda. And they just killed about 15 farmers in Zamfara. And one is wondering, is this an agenda really? Is this a replay of what was done during Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's time? Or is this a coincidence?
It's just criminal organizations springing up here and there, non-state actors springing up here and there, and same being sponsored by unknown persons, okay, or persons that we know, but we don't know how to place the evidence appropriately. They have seen that the Boko Haram have largely succeeded in whatever they do. They have so much resources in their disposal. They have arms and ammunition. They can attack even a military complex, a barracks, and send soldiers packing. They can do all that. So, I mean, some of them who left those groups are the ones forming the smaller ones. You understand? Some of the dissidents of the bigger groups are the ones forming the smaller ones, and then bringing their experience to bear, recruiting more people in those axes. And this one looked like a specialized group against farmers.
Yes, exactly. That's what they do. Yeah.
So that in the long run, there will be food shortage and the government will run into trouble in the long run. Because already you can see that the food shortage is why we have inflation even hitting harder. Okay? Because food inflation will always, stifle the economy faster than any other thing when people are not able to feed. So the agenda is just to make sure that they shut down the country completely. And I don't know who is behind it. I don't know why that should be a motivation to shut down a country or to put a country under fierce condition of survival so that everyone comes to their knee. I don't know what they intend to achieve. I mean, the first insurgent groups, those ones seem to have a face in their demand. Western education is evil.
Yes.
That one looks like, okay, this is the agenda, even though they cannot substantiate it. Then this other one, the Lakurawa and the Mahmuda.
Yes.
Now, what are their agenda? What is it they are asking for? Okay? And these are criminal elements that the state ought to crush. Because no group or persons should be stronger than the violence that a state can unleash.
Then if our experience is a situation where insurgents are becoming stronger than a well-kit, budgeted military, what then are we looking at?
It means the military have failed, the state have failed. That is it. The DG of the DSS told Nigerians to defend themselves. 2 days ago, the governor of Plateau State said that the people of Plateau State should defend themselves. You understand? We'll be hearing that over and over again. But the paraphernalia and the equipment with which you need to defend yourself, they have not approved it, they have not made it accessible. So they should license arms and ammunition so that people can defend themselves adequately.
But on itself, that's not even legitimate, because you can't ask civilized people to defend themselves when they are not even trained to do that.
They are not trained to do that, yeah. So I wonder why they keep repeating that. Before the mandate to defend the country was handed over to the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and other paramilitary. They went through training before that mandate was given to them. So now you sit there, you now tell people to defend themselves. Under what circumstance? Under what kind of training should they defend themselves? And how should they do that? So it's a state of hopelessness. What they are telling you, the security agency, in effect, is that they have failed in their responsibilities.
Well, when we, look at some of these things, Innocent Aduluba, it's actually not very peculiar to us. Of course, it's coming from the basis of whatever ideology, but can we juxtapose this to see how other nations have been able to take care of related violent acts by insurgent groups? Let's talk about El Salvador, for example. Buteke, the president of El Salvador, took over a country that was totally devastated by criminal gangs and narcotic gangs and all. But right now, as I speak to you, El Salvador is one of those countries that is becoming more of like a tourist haven. How do you think it's possible for us to take care of this problem that we have, even if it's peculiar to us? How do you think our leaders can better take care of that? Maybe take an example from Buteke of El Salvador.
Well, Henry, is very sad and lamentable when you hear Toyota made in Japan, Ford made in the United States of America, Benz made in Germany. It will interest you to know that Boko Haram and some of their related terrorists are made in Nigeria. They grew up here. The country propagated them. The media is awash with what purposes, who sponsored what, And so that's where we find ourselves at this time. And as regards the economy, Nigeria is a blessed place. Once upon a time, Nigeria was the largest producer of groundnut worldwide, second only to Senegal in export. You want to talk about cocoa, you want to talk about cash crops, plantain, fruit crops, But today, bandits significantly disrupt food supply. They attack farmers, they force displacement, they damage agricultural infrastructure, all of this leading to increased food shortages and high prices. We now live with the nomenclature food inflation. And in all of this, because of the disruption of farming activities, Nigerians, indigenous Nigerians, are displaced. And that talk about the large number of IDP people in IDP camps is alarming and is off the front pages of the media. There is reduced production and increase in prices. All of the economic impact are leading to loss of income from farming, And it has even led to another dimension where farmers are being kidnapped for ransom, killed, or forced to pay levies to continue farming.
But how can we solve this problem? How do we get to solving the problem? Of course, we do understand, the issues and the difficulties. How do we possibly solve it like other nations have done theirs?
Solving it is simple, Henry.
Yes.
It's like a wave of the hand. Is the government standing strong in its determination, like you mentioned the El Salvador example, to end it? As we approach midterms for the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there is a new wave rising, led by Malam Nasir El-Rufai, former Kaduna State Governor. And some of these bandits, whether for APC, whether for PDP, whether from New, are warming up their alternatives used during election. So if they are not used, if they are rendered irrelevant, if they are, a lot of bandits and Boko Haram are captured, shown on television, and told Nigerians hours later that they have been released because they have repented, and then some of them are reabsorbed into the Nigerian army. You catch people who slaughter women and children that are not armed. You catch people who carry arms without license. Barrister will give us the legal complexion. the justice system, the judiciary, will be yawning in hunger to catch these people and serve them justice. The governing system tells you they've repented, and then they have them released. So with that ongoing, Henry, putting a clamping down on them is difficult. They seem pampered and propagated. But where we make...
Are you still there, Innocent? All right, I think we're having a little bit of...
People will tell them, okay, lately, the Kaduna State Governor have said, Fulanis, pardon my digression, Fulanis worldwide, in Africa, you find them in Senegal, in Mali, Mauritania, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, have said that all Fulanis will be made to come into Nigeria and settle here as their home. And so, all of these are pointers to some of these instabilities, undocumented people, and people hiding. Where will they stay? A Malian who was a Fulani will be encouraged to move into Nigeria as who? As what?
All right.
You know, what are they bringing? What kind of labor? So you find that the personnel, as we speak, Henry, within this April month alone, you can hear what is happening across Benue and the Plateau, and they seem to go unchallenged, unconquered, unarrested.
Very true, Innocent.
So if we are genuine, we can clamp them down.
All right, so while we hope that we would clamp them down, let's take a look at other matters here. NBA slams Rivers administrator over alleged disregard for a rule of law. Barrister Vansufeli, this is your area of forte. It's becoming like a ping-pong game between NBA and the sole administrator. The sole administrator said they should refund the 300 million that was given to them, which he called largesse. The NBA is saying it's a gift given to us, and once it's given, you don't return it back. Now the NBA has gone back to say it's more like a disregard for the rule of law. So the question is, he who goes to equity must come with clean hands. Do you think the NBA at this point now has more than enough transparency to speak to the sole administrator, knowing that it has something that belongs to the River State people?
Yes, I have said in my earlier intervention on this issue on a different TV station that the money under reference is more money. Okay, it's not even NBA can generate that from the state. Okay, that they should return it for me because
they should return it.
They should return it.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason I say they should return it is on moral grounds, not on law. If it's on law, they cannot win. There is no, it's not a contract. There's no contractual responsibility or contractual agreement. It's not a hosting right fee. Okay, it's support. Okay.
Support for coming to us or for hosting.
Support for the NBA 2025 conference.
In Port Harcourt.
Okay. Whatever in Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt was the original venue slated for the event. Okay. But that decision has been reached by NEC, by NBA NEC. Before the state of emergency. In fact, NBA had already started making arrangements with the state government on the modalities because it's a huge conference. It comes with a lot of gain and benefits. The NBA conference is hosted in your state as a governor. It's a big deal. Okay.
Because I remember even the Plateau State governor was yearning.
Yes, he wanted it. He wanted it, but NBA will look at if you don't have the venue. If you don't have the venue, they won't come to the state because the venue is the most important thing and the logistical. The state governors lobby for it. They know the return on investment is huge. So now, state of emergency was declared and that place became unfit because judges are coming from all over the globe.
Okay.
We have, one of the key speakers is Malami. That is the South African. Which of the party wing now? The South African, we all know him. As a popular Melami.
Okay, yeah.
So it's one of the keynote speakers. And you have other speakers from all over the globe, from Mexico, from United States, from everywhere. It's a big thing. So, in the tradition of the NBA, it is the governor of the state that will declare the event open. First, the governor will receive lawyers. Okay.
So, but when the sole administrator is standing,
yes. So now the place is not conducive; it's improper. They have sown, the president have sown the seed of illegality there, and we're going there to discuss law.
Okay, so the decision is based on the fact that there is there is a short on the rule of law.
Yes, there's a short on the rule of law.
Okay.
Now you cannot bring the entire world to that place to discuss rule of law, and the sole administrator will now come and declare it open. How do you do that? So the venue was the NEC met again and took a decision to change it to Enugu. Enugu have the venue. Enugu, the Enugu state government were more than willing to take it immediately, and the environment was conducive to so do. So it was moved there. The Sole Administration now said the 300 million that was given should be returned. Now, if you look at the circumstances surrounding it, morally speaking, I have said they should return it, because if I were the chairman of the NBA, I would have returned even before the call was made. Yeah, that's my own moral standing.
But don't you think that would have an after effect?
However,
yes.
However, if they fail to return it, the Rivers State government cannot win that argument. Because first, when it gets to court, they'll be looking at how they came about the money in the first place. Okay. Did the state government award a contract to the NBA? The offer, the acceptance, the consideration, the intention to create legal relationship. Do we have all that present? Was it a contract? No. Was it a host fee or whatever it is? No. It was to support the conference. They need not hold the conference in Rivers State. Many other states, many states in Nigeria support the conference with cash gifts, because a lot is involved in it. Okay, all those speakers coming from all over there, they will be brought in by the NBA. Their accommodation, feeding, everything will be taken care of by the NBA. All the speakers coming. Then the conference proper, the hall, the payment, the food. Every lawyer is fed twice in the NBA conference. Breakfast and lunch. So for the number of days, and it's a big. Personally speaking, I would say return the money. But if the NBA have decided that they are not refunding the money because it was not a gift, fine and good. The state have threatened to go to court. They should meet in court. Let the court decide whether or not you can do whatever you have. You can give such money and then collect it. So my own ground in order not to be dragged unnecessarily, and in order not to make a mockery and a ridicule of the conference itself, because the larger society don't even understand the premise of law and how these things work, whether the court will join the bandwagon to say you collected money, you did not do the conference. That's not. The court will look at the condition under which that fund was given and whether or not they can. You see, Rivers State government can ask for that fund, but the sole administrator himself does not even have the moral justification to ask for that fund. Why? His government is not a continuation of Fubara's government. Government is a continuum. There are grounds. Government is a continuum when a governor has served his term of office, and his term of office have elapsed by a fraction of time. And there's a constitutional means, election has been conducted and another governor has come in. Or the governor have served for such a time and has been impeached and another governor is now there. Those are constitutional means. But when you now have a state sole administrator who does not even have a government, who don't even know what he's doing there, who with the huge deposit of his illegality has become even a monster, has become a Frankenstein. Even the things he was not asked to do is doing them. He's even sacking commissioners who were even sponsored by Wike himself. So that is why they set up a 21 member, because you cannot tame a military man. They set up a 21 member to watch him now, because he's becoming an albatross. And that is what he will always become, as long as he did not take an oath of office from any law to govern, as long as there's no National Assembly to check him. All this expenditure that is going on now, which institution is is approving it. The State House of Assembly is supposed to approve expenditure. Now they are shifting it to the National Assembly. That's another illegality. So the National Assembly should supervise him. The 21-man committee should, even that 21-man committee that they set up, they are taking oath under what law? So you see that once you veer off,
so illegality creating illegality.
Yeah, that's why Lord Denning said. That's why Lord Denning said, the Master of Rules. He said lawyers must ensure that the stream of justice is kept clean at all times. At all times, once you pollute the stream of justice, injustice begets injustice, and so you have it. Once you veer off law, you will continue to have illegality to sustain that decision, and that's exactly what is going on now. So. I have called on the president to, resolve the issue in Rivers State and remove this man as quickly as possible. You can't have him for 6 months because we are going to have incalculable damage. We are going to have more. We will compound the problem, deepen the crisis with his presence. It's just the problem of that state is just beginning.
Well, let's just see how that goes, and knowing that the Attorney General is a member of the Nigerian Bar Association himself. Let's just see how they can really, run around that particular matter. Innocent, just before we let go this particular segment, you are a corporate communication expert, and I'd love you to speak to this particular matter, especially with regards to reputation management. What would you do if you were saddled with the opportunity of speaking for the NBA at this point?
Henry, you want me to give out strategies for free at this platform?
Please do.
Communication-wise already, if you look at the media, I think I can call their name. For Punch, 2 days ago, Rivers administrator threatens lawsuit to recover 300 million from NBA. From the cable yesterday, Rivers NBA asked Tinubu to caution sole administrator against acting beyond his powers. From this day, NBA calls for restoration of democracy in Rivers. From Channel, NBA criticizes Rivers administrator over alleged disregard for rule of law. And if you look at examples of cliche for rule of law, I'm talking about somebody not as lettered as Barrister Evans Ufele. Everybody knows cliches like no one is above the law, all are equal before the law, or the law applies to everyone, the rule of law must be upheld, rule of law is important, it has to be shredded to be saved. All of these are out there in the open, but absent in Rivers. And I think I'm not the umpire, but the sole administrator, Ibogete Ibas, should, for me, have kept his negative romance with the Nigerian Bar Association, if you ask me, away from the media, because already there are 8 chapters of the Nigerian Bar Association in Rivers, and all of them have asked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to caution the sole administrator against acting beyond his mandate, as none of the purpose for which he was, installed seem to be on. So the communication point for the NBA for me is for sometimes, the lawyers will tell you silence means consent. But I think that the money is not a property of Governor Simnalaye Fubara as we speak. He is still the democratically elected governor of River State under suspension, possibly 1 month or thereabout of his suspension lacuna. But I would advise the Nigerian Bar Association to go about their Congress where they choose from Barrister Ofeli's postulations that Port Harcourt now is not a haven for lawyers to gather, because there is nothing lawful as we speak, or legal, or the procedures of legality in Rivers.
But do you think they should refund the money? From your own submission, do you think they should refund the money?
I would say expressly that they should wait at the end of 6 months, when Governor Simnalayi Fubara, the person who gave them the money, returns, the conversation can continue there, because I would say the present sole administrator is at what decent word to use. He joined this transaction midstream, and lots of water would have flowed either ahead of him or some coming behind of him. So this shouldn't be his priority. We hear of summons for the suspended governor. We hear how he makes appointments without the requisite legal procedures, and some say without approval being sought from the National Assembly or any known legal institution for that matter. So all of these are antithetical to the rule of law, which the Nigerian Bar Association stands for. Young children aspire to become lawyers. Lately, the judiciary had not clothed itself with the best of garbs. People can point at that. But on this topic, I think the judiciary, for me, seems to be on the right track.
All right, let's just wait and see what happens. I used to say that the absence of the rule of law, gives birth to some of the things that we see happening in Rivers State. But actually, I was corrected by a lawyer who said it was the lack of obedience to the rule of law that gives birth to some of these things. So because the law is there, nothing is affecting the law. It's as good as we can imagine. But when we have people who consciously refuse to obey the rule of law, like we have seen in Rivers State, that is the birth a time for some of the things that we see today. So I'd love to say thank you, gentlemen, for being here. And just to let you know, both will be here to take us on our main conversation when we return. Tinubu working remotely from overseas, expected back after Easter, and that's coming from the presidency. Still Enterprise of Friday. Please don't go anywhere.